Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. There's a list, you don't know it exists, but it does. It's not written down, it's not official, but everyone in your life has access to it. It's a mental list called People I Can Cross Without Real Consequence, and right now your name is on it. How do I know? Because of what happened the last 3 times someone betrayed you. When your friend shared your secret, you confronted them, they apologized, and within 2 weeks you were texting like nothing happened. When your colleague took credit for your work, you felt the rage, maybe mentioned it to HR, but ultimately let it slide because it's not worth the drama. When your partner disrespected you in front of others, you argued, they gave you the bare minimum apology, and you accepted it because you didn't want to be petty. So if you're ready, if you're done being on that list, and you want to become the kind of person people regret crossing, subscribe right now. Each time, you thought you were being mature, forgiving, the bigger person. But here's what actually happened. You taught them, and everyone watching, that crossing you is risk-free. Right now, someone in your life is deciding whether to betray you. And before they do it, they're running a calculation. If I do this, what will actually happen to me? They're thinking about the last person who crossed you, and what happened to them. The answer, nothing permanent, nothing that actually changed their life, so they're going to do it. Because you've built a reputation you don't even know you have. Machiavelli wrote in 1513, men ought either to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, of more serious ones they cannot. Translation, half measures teach people to test you. Overreactions make you look unstable, but systematic, irreversible consequences, that's what makes people regret even thinking about crossing you. Stay till the end, because I'm about to show you 40 specific behaviors, not revenge tactics, not drama, not visible retaliation, but architectural changes to how you operate, that ensure anyone who crosses you pays a price, so certain and so permanent, they'll spend years wishing they hadn't. Let me be clear about what we're doing here. This isn't about revenge. Revenge is emotional, reactive, visible. Revenge is when someone wrongs you and you immediately strike back. You damage their reputation, you sabotage their project, you make a scene. Everyone sees it, everyone knows you did it, and everyone judges you for it. That's not power, that's weakness, wearing an aggressive mask. What we're building is different. We're building consequence architecture, a systematic framework where people who cross you don't see you coming. They don't know you're the reason their life is getting harder. They can't point to a single moment where you attacked them. They just slowly realize that betraying you was the most expensive decision they've ever made, and by the time they figure it out, it's too late to fix it. Here's what you need to understand before we start. Most people operate on what I call the forgiveness cycle. Someone wrongs them, they get angry, they confront, the person apologizes, they forgive, things go back to normal, and the cycle repeats. 6 months later, the same person crosses them again, because nothing in that cycle created a real consequence. The anger was temporary, the confrontation was emotional, the apology was performative, the forgiveness was cheap. Nothing structural changed in that person's life that would make them think, I should never do that again. Think about it like this. If you touch a hot stove, you pull your hand back immediately, and you never touch that stove again. Why? Because the consequence was immediate, painful, and undeniable. But if touching the stove just made someone tell you it was hot, and you could touch it again tomorrow with no pain, you'd keep testing it. That's what you've been doing with betrayal. You're giving people lectures about boundaries, talks about respect, conversations about how that made you feel. But you're not making it hurt to cross you, and until it hurts, they'll keep doing it. Now before we dive into the 40 behaviors, before I show you exactly how to architect consequences that make betrayal expensive, I need to know you're ready for this. Because once you implement these behaviors, your relationships will change. Some people will respect you more, some people will leave, Some people will realize they can't manipulate you anymore, and they'll disappear, and you need to be okay with that. Because what you're about to become is someone who values their dignity more than they value being liked. Because what comes next requires commitment. Let's start with the foundation. The first 10 behaviors. Information control. When someone crosses you, your first instinct is to confront them immediately, to tell them how you feel, to demand an explanation, to get closure. That's a mistake. Because the moment you confront, you reveal 3 things: that you know what they did, that it bothered you, that you care enough to address it. All 3 of those things are power you're handing them. Behavior #1. The information blackout. When someone crosses you, you don't confront immediately. You go silent, not cold, not dramatic, just silent. You stop initiating contact. You stop sharing information about your life. You become a black hole. They text you. You respond politely but briefly. They invite you somewhere. You're busy. They ask how you're doing. Fine, thanks. No explanation. No drama. No visible anger. Just systematic information withdrawal. What happens? They notice. They wonder. They start to feel the distance. And because you haven't confronted them, they don't know if you know. They don't know if they should apologize. They don't know what's happening. That uncertainty is psychological torture, and it costs you nothing. Behavior #2. Strategic unavailability. Before they crossed you, you were available, responsive, present. After, you're mysteriously busy. They need a favor. You're swamped. They want to hang out. Your schedule is full. They need advice. You don't have the bandwidth. Again, no explanation, no visible retaliation. You're just prioritizing other things. What's actually happening? You've removed yourself as a resource they can access. And when people lose access to something they took for granted, they start to realize its value. Behavior #3. The conversation redirect. When they try to engage you in deep conversation, the kind you used to have, you redirect. They ask your opinion on something personal. I'm not sure. What do you think? They try to share their problems. That sounds tough. Hope it works out. They attempt emotional intimacy. You give surface-level responses. You're not being rude. You're just not engaging at the depth you used to. Because deep conversation is a privilege, and they lost that privilege when they crossed you. Behavior #4. Third-party information control. This is where it gets strategic. You stop telling mutual friends anything significant about your life, not because you're hiding, but because you know information travels, and you don't want the person who crossed you to know what you're doing, who you're seeing, or what opportunities you're pursuing. Why? Because knowledge is leverage, and you're removing all their leverage. They can't manipulate what they don't know about. They can't interfere with opportunities they're unaware of. They become irrelevant to your narrative. Behavior #5. The delayed response. They text you. You see it immediately. You respond 6 hours later, not because you're playing games, but because you're establishing a new pattern. You are no longer a priority in my life. The person who used to respond in minutes now takes hours, sometimes days. It's subtle, it's undeniable, and it says everything without saying anything. Behavior #6. No explanations. When they ask why you're being distant, you don't explain. I'm not being distant, I'm just busy. When they ask if something's wrong, you don't elaborate. Everything's fine. You give them nothing to argue against, nothing to apologize for, nothing to fix, because explanation is engagement, and engagement is what they want. What they get, instead, is polite indifference. Behavior #7. Public neutrality. In group settings, you're not hostile, you're not cold, you're just neutral. You don't laugh at their jokes a little harder than everyone else's anymore. You don't defend them when others criticize them. You don't bring them up in conversation. They're not your enemy. They're just someone who's there. And that shift from close friend to acquaintance happens so smoothly, no one can accuse you of anything. Behavior #8. No special treatment. Before, they got special treatment, inside jokes, preferential access to your time, first priority when they needed something. Now, they're in the general pool. They get the same level of attention everyone else gets. No more, no less. They used to be VIP, now they're general admission. And they feel it, but they can't point to anything you did wrong. Behavior #9. Strategic memory. When they reference shared memories, remember when you're polite but detached. Yeah, that was fun. No elaboration, no nostalgia, no warmth. You're not denying the past, you're just not living in it anymore. And that tells them, whatever we had is over, and I'm not mourning it. Behavior #10. The question deflection. When they ask direct questions about your life, your plans, your relationships, your goals, you deflect, still figuring it out. Nothing concrete yet. I'll let you know when there's something to share. You're not lying, you're just not sharing, because intimacy is earned, and they're no longer in the earned category. These first 10 behaviors do something powerful. They remove you as an emotional and practical resource without creating a confrontation. The person who crossed you starts to feel the absence of your presence. They start to realize what they lost, and they start to regret. But we're just getting started. The next 10 behaviors: opportunity withdrawal. Information control is defensive. It protects you. Opportunity withdrawal is offensive. It costs them. Behavior #11. No more introductions. You used to connect them with people in your network, share opportunities, make introductions. That stops. When opportunities come up that would benefit them, you don't think of them anymore. Not maliciously, they're just not on your radar. And over time they'll realize doors that used to open through you are now closed. Behavior #12. No more recommendations. When people ask you for recommendations for jobs, services, opportunities, you used to mention them. You don't anymore. Someone asks, know anyone good for this project? You list 5 people. They're not one of them. They'll never know they were excluded, but they'll notice opportunities drying up. Behavior #13. Professional distance. If you work together, you maintain strict professionalism. No collaboration beyond what's required. No mentorship. No going above and beyond to make them look good. You do your job. They do theirs. No synergy. And suddenly their career isn't benefiting from your competence anymore. Behavior #14. No more advocacies. You used to defend them when others criticized them, advocate for them when they weren't in the room. You stop. Not because you're attacking them, but because you're not protecting them anymore. When someone says something negative about them, you don't disagree. You just don't engage. And gradually, without your advocacy, their reputation becomes what it actually is, not what you were helping it be. Behavior #15. Resource reallocation. Your time, energy, and resources are finite. You used to allocate a significant portion to them. Now you reallocate to other friendships, other projects, other people. They're not losing because you're sabotaging them. They're losing because you're investing elsewhere. And investment follows respect. Behavior #16. No more forgiveness loans. You used to give them the benefit of the doubt, second chances, third chances. You used to overlook their flaws because you valued the relationship. That credit line is closed. Now they operate under the same standards as everyone else. No special grace, no extra patience. And most people can't maintain relationships when they're held to actual standards. Behavior #17. The opportunity mention. When something good happens to you, you used to tell them first. Now they hear about it from someone else. They find out you got promoted from LinkedIn. They discover you're dating someone from mutual friends. They learn about your success after everyone else knows, because you don't share your wins with people you don't trust. Behavior #18. No more emergency access. They used to be able to call you at 2 a.m. with a crisis and you'd show up. That privilege is revoked. Not because you're cruel, but because emergency access is for people who respect you consistently, not just when they need something. Behavior #19. The slow fade from groups. If you're in shared social groups, you don't make it dramatic. You just slowly stop attending events where they'll be. You're not avoiding them specifically, you're just busy. Over time, you're naturally in different social circles, and they're left wondering when the separation happened. Behavior #20. No celebration participation. Their birthday, their promotion, their achievement. You used to be the first one to celebrate. Plan the party. Make them feel special. Now, a polite congratulations and nothing more. No party, no gift, no special acknowledgement, because celebration is intimacy, and intimacy is earned. Now if you're tracking with me, you're starting to see the pattern. None of these behaviors are vengeful, none of them are dramatic, but all of them create a tangible cost. The person who crossed you is slowly realizing that life was easier when they had your support. And if you're recognizing yourself in the person who hasn't been doing these things, if you're realizing you've been giving away your power through unlimited access and forgiveness, do me a favor, right now. Hit that like button, because we're about to shift into the behaviors that don't just make them regret crossing you, they make them actively work to repair what they broke. The next 10 behaviors: strategic indifference, information control protects you. Opportunity withdrawal costs them, but strategic indifference, that breaks them, because the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And when someone realizes you genuinely don't care anymore, they lose all power over you. Behavior #21. Emotional flatline. They used to be able to trigger you, make you angry, make you jealous, make you react. Now, nothing. They post something designed to get your attention. You scroll past. They mention someone new they're seeing. You respond. Good for you. They try to make you jealous. You're genuinely unbothered, because you've emotionally divested. And that's terrifying to people who used to control your emotions. Behavior #22. Zero competition. They try to one-up you, brag, show off. You don't compete. You don't try to prove you're doing better. You don't defend your choices. You don't compare. You just exist in your own reality, where their achievements are irrelevant to your self-worth. And when you stop competing, you stop giving them power. Behavior #23. The non-reaction. They say something inflammatory, something designed to hurt you, test you, get a reaction. You don't give them one, not because you're suppressing emotion, but because you genuinely don't care enough to react. Okay becomes your most powerful word. They attack you. Okay. They insult you, if that's how you see it. They try to provoke you. Interesting take. Zero emotional investment, zero reaction, and people lose their minds when they can't affect you anymore. Behavior #24. Selective memory. When they reference past experiences, good or bad, you're vague. I don't really remember. That was a long time ago. Maybe. I'm not sure. You're not being dishonest. You're just not holding on to the past the way they are, because you've moved on, and they're still stuck. Behavior #25. The redirect without engagement. They try to drag you into drama, gossip, conflict. You redirect without engaging. That's between you and them. I'm staying out of it. Not my business. You remove yourself as a player in their emotional games. Behavior #26. No validation seeking. You used to care what they thought about your choices. You don't anymore. You make decisions without consulting them, without explaining, without seeking their approval. And when they offer unsolicited opinions, you receive them with indifference. Thanks for sharing. Not defensive, not grateful, just neutral. Behavior #27. The comfortable silence. Silence used to make you uncomfortable around them. You'd fill it. Now, you're completely comfortable with silence. Long pauses in conversation don't bother you. Gaps in communication don't worry you. You're not trying to maintain connection. You're not trying to repair anything. You're just existing separately. and peacefully. Behavior #28. No explanation for changes. They notice you've changed, your behavior, your priorities, your energy. They ask why. You don't explain. People change. I'm just in a different place now. No specific reason. You don't owe them insight into your evolution, especially when they're not part of it. Behavior #29. The polite decline. They invite you to things, try to reconnect. You decline, politely, without explanation. Can't make it, have other plans, maybe another time. You're not being hostile, you're just not prioritizing them. And repeated polite declines communicate something powerful. You are not important to me anymore. Behavior #30. Zero curiosity. You used to ask about their life, their plans, their feelings. You stop, not out of anger, but out of genuine disinterest. They could tell you something major, a new job, a breakup, a crisis, and you'd respond with surface-level acknowledgement. That's good. Sorry to hear that. Hope it works out. No follow-up questions, no deep engagement, no investment, because curiosity is a form of care, and you don't care anymore. Machiavelli wrote, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." But there's a third option he didn't mention, indifference. And indifference is more powerful than both, because when you fear someone, you're still emotionally engaged. When you love someone, you're definitely engaged. But when you're indifferent, you've removed them from your emotional landscape entirely, and that's the ultimate consequence. The final 10 behaviors. Boundary architecture. We've controlled information, withdrawn opportunities, demonstrated indifference. Now we architect boundaries, so absolute that crossing you becomes structurally impossible. Behavior #31. The non-negotiable standard. You establish standards, clear, specific, non-negotiable. I don't engage with people who disrespect me. I don't maintain friendships with people I can't trust. I don't invest in relationships that aren't reciprocal. You don't argue these standards. You don't defend them. You just live by them. And when people violate them, they're out. Automatically. No discussion. Behavior #32. No second explanations. When you set a boundary, you explain it once. If someone crosses it, you don't explain again. You just enforce. No lectures, no second chances, no "let me help you understand why this hurt me." You said the boundary. They crossed it. Consequence follows. Simple, clean, absolute. Behavior #33. The automatic exclusion. Certain behaviors now trigger automatic exclusion from your life. Lying, manipulation, disrespect, betrayal. Not "I'll think about whether I can forgive this." Automatic. Like a security system. Cross the line, you're out. And you don't feel guilty about it, because you warned them. The boundary was clear. Behavior #34. No emergency reconciliation. They try to reconcile during a crisis, when they need you. You don't allow it. Let's talk when things are stable, because reconciliation under duress isn't real. It's manipulation. Real repair happens when they're fine and choose to address what they did, not when they're desperate and need something from you. Behavior #35. The reputation clarification. When people ask about your relationship with the person who crossed you, you don't badmouth them, but you also don't protect their reputation. We're not close anymore. We had different values. Things changed. Neutral, factual, no drama, but also no cover-up for their behavior. Behavior #36. No access to vulnerability. You used to share your fears, insecurities, struggles with them. That ends permanently. Even if they try to reconcile, even if they apologize, they never get access to your vulnerable side again. Because vulnerability is the deepest trust, and they broke that trust irreparably. Behavior #37. The limited reconciliation. If you do allow them back into your life, it's at a fundamentally different level. They were inner circle. Now they're outer circle. They were confidant. Now they're casual acquaintance. They don't get to return to what was. They get a new, limited version, and they have to earn every inch of territory back, over years, not weeks. Behavior #38. No shared vulnerability. You never again put yourself in a position where they can hurt you the same way. If they betrayed a secret, you never share personal information with them again. If they undermined you professionally, you never collaborate with them again. If they disrespected you publicly, you never appear with them publicly again. You learn the lesson. You adjust your behavior. You protect yourself structurally. Behavior #39. The silent standard elevation. You don't announce that your standards have changed. You just start living by higher standards. And people who can't meet those standards naturally filter themselves out. You're not rejecting anyone. You're just existing at a level where certain behaviors are incompatible with access to you. Behavior #40. No apology acceptance without action. They apologize, maybe sincerely. You don't accept the apology as reconciliation. You say, I hear you, I'll see how things go moving forward. Because apologies are words, and words are cheap. You're watching for sustained behavioral change, over months, not days, and only then, if the change is real, do you consider any form of re-engagement. So there they are, all 40 behaviors, not revenge, not retaliation, not drama, systematic consequence architecture that makes crossing you the most expensive decision someone can make. And here's what happens when you implement these. Most people never cross you in the first place, because your reputation shifts. You're no longer on the list of people who can be betrayed without consequence. You're on a different list, people you don't fuck with. But let me be very clear about something. These behaviors aren't about being cruel. They're not about punishing people forever. They're about protecting yourself, respecting yourself, teaching people how to treat you. Some people will learn the lesson. They'll respect your boundaries. They'll grow. And over time, years, not months, they might earn a place in your life again. A different place, a more honest place. But some people won't learn. They'll blame you, call you cold, say you're holding grudges. Let them. Because what they're really saying is, I'm upset that betraying you now has consequences, and that's not your problem. Machiavelli wrote, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Look at the people around you. If they're people who've crossed you repeatedly and you keep letting them back in, what does that say about you? If they're people who respect your boundaries because they know crossing you is expensive, what does that say? You teach people how to treat you, not through what you say, through what you allow. And when you stop allowing disrespect, betrayal, and exploitation, when you implement these 40 behaviors systematically, you create a life where those things rarely happen. Because people aren't stupid, they learn. And they learn that crossing you is the one mistake they'll never make twice. So here's your choice. You can go back to the forgiveness cycle, letting people cross you, apologize, and do it again. Staying on the list. Being someone people know they can betray safely. Or you can become someone different. Someone who doesn't get crossed repeatedly because people know the cost. Someone who protects their dignity, their energy, and their peace ruthlessly. Someone who makes betrayal so expensive that people think twice, 3 times, 10 times before considering it. If you're ready to get off that list, if you're ready to become the kind of person people regret even thinking about crossing, subscribe right now. Drop a comment below telling me which behavior you're implementing first, the one that's going to change how people see you. And share this with someone who needs to hear it, because the world needs fewer people on the list and more people who understand how to architect real consequences. One last thing before I let you go. You might be wondering, isn't this manipulative? Isn't this cold? Let me answer that with a question. When someone crosses you and faces no consequence, when they learn they can betray you and you'll take them back, what are you teaching them? You're teaching them that your boundaries don't matter, that your pain is negotiable, that they can hurt you without cost. that's what's actually manipulative. Because you're enabling their bad behavior. You're participating in your own exploitation. These 40 behaviors aren't manipulation, they're clarity. They're you saying, this is who I am, this is what I accept, this is what happens when you violate that, and then following through. That's not cold, that's integrity. The people who love you really love you will respect these boundaries. They'll appreciate your standards. They'll treat you better because they know you won't accept less. The people who don't, they'll call you bitter, unforgiving, cold, and that tells you everything you need to know about them. They're not upset that you have boundaries, they're upset that they can't cross them anymore. Let them go. You deserve relationships where betrayal isn't a recurring theme. You deserve respect that doesn't require constant enforcement. You deserve people who value access to you enough that they'd never risk losing it. But you won't get any of that by being on the list. You'll get it by implementing these behaviors, systematically, consistently, without apology. You'll get it by making crossing you so expensive that people simply don't. So go, implement, protect yourself, and watch how your life changes when people realize you're not the one anymore. Not the one they can betray safely, not the one they can disrespect without consequence, not the one whose boundaries are suggestions. You're the one they wish they'd never crossed, and that's exactly who you should be.